Subcommittee. I would like to welcome you all, and this is our fifth CPD. Today's session is Let's Get Started with Python, conducted by Fiqri Ismail. Fiqri is an experienced architect focusing his skills in ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC, .NET Core, Entity Framework, PHP, Python, and Delphi. Fiqri also a Microsoft MVP, Most Valuable Professional in Developer Technologies for 15 consecutive years to date. So he's one of the Sri Lanka's most oldest and MVPs that he has got the title to date, and as well as a community leader, speaker, and a blogger. So we can start now, and I also like you to remind, please keep your mics muted. Unless you have a question, you can unmute and ask. Otherwise, all the time, please keep muted. I think over to you, Fiqri. You can start.
Yeah, thank you, Gina. So let me share my screen and start straight away. So normally, as a developer presentation, I love to just start with the presentation. Rather than presentation, I would just mainly just straight away guide into the code. So I'll just turn off my video so it's better for me. Yeah. And share the screen. Share screen. Yeah. So I hope everybody can see the screen here. Share. Right. Should be a command line. Okay. So to start with, this is me, Fiqri Ismail, and I am an MVP and MCT Microsoft Certified Trainer for Power Apps and Power Platform. So I train Power Apps, Power Automation, and Power Virtual Agents. That's a different story. And also this is my LinkedIn profile. You can just visit here, search for this name, and this is my YouTube channel. So I have this YouTube channel for actually the YouTube channel is I'm working on this channel mainly focusing on programming languages, Python, ASP.NET, React.js, all those things. But main uniqueness is like I'm just doing it on Sinhalese language because of the Sri Lankan students. They have this language barrier. So anybody who wants to learn on web APIs, Python and everything, you can subscribe to this channel. So that's about me. Today I'm gonna talk about Python. If you just, I'm not very good at this PowerPoint slide, so that's why I'm using Notepad here. So this is the new version of Notepad on Windows 11. If you look at it, so it's a new one. All these fancy things are available on Notepad right now. So what is Python? It's a popular programming language created by this guy and then released on 1991. So it's very old. 1991 means it's almost 20 years back also, right? So why it's used for and what is it's used for? Mainly, if you look at Python, these days most of the people, they look at Python as like a machine learning thing and also for data science, right? So, but people used to use Python for web development at the first time. Also for software development like GUI and things, for mathematics and system scripting widely we used for Python, like automating things on like scripts. We write script. If you heard about Perl script, so we used to write Python script to automate things, like you just run it like batch files on DOS. So these are the things we mostly use for Python. Same thing, you don't have to worry about if you learn the syntax, and it's just on your creativity and imagination, right? So to get with what can Python do? So like Python can be used on a server created web application. There are two different web applications. Web application means like front-end applications. If you familiar with ASP.NET MVC or Java server pages, those kind of things, we can just do the same here using Python. And also we can create web APIs, REST APIs using Python as well. So that's another area we can just look at it Python. I'm going to show you small example of these, all those things today. And also this is a very important thing. Python can be used alongside software to create workflows. So if you heard about Power Automation on Microsoft Power Automation or any other similar platform, we can create these workflows on a scripting level to create stuff. Okay, do this thing and then automate stuff, right? So maybe running inside a Windows scheduler, those kind of things can be created as well. It's very fast, small scripting. Again, you can connect to a database. Today, if I have time, I'm going to show you how to connect to a MySQL database, and it can also read write files as well on your local file system. And big data. This is that data thing I'm just talked about. If you look at data platforms and cloud, Python is widely used on cloud. If you look at Azure Functions or maybe AWS Lambda, Python is used there. So Python can be used to create serverless functions as well, or maybe you can just connect to Cosmos DB, any NoSQL database, and complex mathematics to perform complex mathematics as well. So these are just things, different areas. If you want to just create only web application, that's okay. I know Python, I can just create web application. If I am a data scientist, I can just want to mining data, or maybe do complex data mining stuff, clean data, or those kind of things I can do as well. Again, Python can be used to rapid prototyping for production ready software development. This is GUIs or applications, front-end applications. So it depends on anything. So you can just write enterprise grade applications without an issue using Python. So one language, if you know Python, you can just do wonders within these areas. It's like, it's only your imagination and again your creativity, right? So why Python? There are lots of languages. So today I'm going to focus on Python because Python works different platforms. It's X platform, Windows, Mac, Linux, Raspberry Pi, anything. So I'm going to show you two different platforms today. I have two different platforms here. This is on Windows and this is on Ubuntu, right? So if I just say, let's be, so I'm running on Ubuntu. It's Ubuntu is 20, this area, LTS version. So I'm running on WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux. So you don't need any virtual machine, anything. It's called WSL2. I'm gonna show you how it works. It says WSL2, right? This is on Windows Subsystem for Linux. It's a different thing. It's kind of a small virtual machine running inside. It's built into Windows right now. So nothing to worry about. If you look at, let me show you here. If we just say Explorer, Windows Explorer, it doesn't work. Okay, it should, let me show you here, maybe it's there. File Explorer. If you look at here, see, the file system can be viewed here as well. See, so it's on Linux. So Windows support directly WSL2 as well. So I'm going to use WSL as well. Let me clear here. To create some applications here. It's both environments. To start with, I'll be using a Visual Studio Code as the editor. So let me start here. Just let me start like code dot on the Windows. It will open here my code editor, Visual Studio for Windows. This is under Windows. I'm running Windows. So I'm going to start with my first file, ex.py, right? So this is Visual Studio Code. To start with, if we want, this is how you install Python. You just go to this python.org website. Just straight away come here, python.org. You click this download button, downloads Python 3.10. This is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is like if you are running in Windows, you can just straight away open Windows Store. Right? Microsoft Store, you just search there for Python. You have lots of different versions, see, Python 3.10, and so I have installed 3.10, or you can just, any version, you can just install, just click, and then you install it, that's it. So you don't have to go even to the python.org, you just come here, search for Python and install it. After installing, you can check for the version. You can just, if it is working here, you can just say Python -- version. So I'm running on this 3.10. If you're on Ubuntu, any other thing, you just say Python 3.-- version, right? This is 3.95. So there are two different versions here. So it doesn't matter whatever the version, but syntax, all those things will be the same. So I am in Visual Studio Code. To start with, this is how it works. So Python, the extension should be this .py, right? Visual Studio Code, it will automatically understand. Else you have to install these extensions you just look at these extensions, I have this extension on Visual Studio Code. For you search for here for extensions Python. There's an official Python IntelliSense, and then all this Python, this linting, all those things will be there. You can just go there. It's provided by Microsoft. You download it, so it works fine. Again, I have installed this Python extension pack for other works as well. So it doesn't matter if you just start with here, it's okay. This is already 52 million downloads here. So you have to download the extension. It will now Visual Studio Code will be working as a very good Python editor. Or else you can just, there's a JetBrains one as well called PyCharm. There's a community edition. You can just download it and use it as it is. So I prefer Visual Studio Code because it's very small and it's lightweight to start it from here. If you write this one, the Python syntax, you have two different ways to test Python. One is like if you open the terminal. Let me open the terminal. Let me just yeah, the size is okay, right? If you open the terminal here, if you just type Python and on Windows, just enter, you will get this one, right? This is kind of a command line interpreter. You can just try Python code here. You can just say like print and can just say hello world. This is one way of running Python. You can just say 1.1.1 plus 3. It works like this, 3 plus 2. It works like this. Anything you can just state. If you want to quit, just say quit, it goes off, right? This is one way of testing, learning Python. Most of the Python teaching on tutorials, it's on this command line. Also, there's another way of doing it, right? Writing a Python script like this. Just say print. So after installing this Visual Studio extensions, you will get syntax highlight as well as this is same thing, hello world. See, if we just save it, look at this. When you save it here, if you look at this, I have a extension called prettier here. See, this extension is used to normally I use this extension to write Node.js or any other JavaScript or maybe React.js things, because this prettier will help me to format my code, right? This is like kind of a configuring Visual Studio. Normally what I do is like I just go to file and maybe I'll just go to preferences and settings. So come here, you can just search for formatting. You can just enable this first, format on save. This is one thing, right? Every time you save it, it will just nicely format. And another one is the formatter, right? The formatter is already says none. See, there's nothing else. You can just put it the formatter here, saying if it's working use like for example, if you are working with prettier, you can just select prettier. Else any formatter you can just select it. For now, it says none. That's okay. Now, when you save it, a Python code, right? It's automatically formats for you. So now it's already there. Like I have installed this what you call this extension. So it is formatting. For example, if you just say, if I am here, if I save it, automatically it's format with a line, right? This is how you write your Python code. This is the formatter will help you. Like if you just write single quotes here, automatically save, it's turned into single quote. It's okay, right? So nothing to worry about. And then how do you execute the Python code? This is how you do that. You have two methods. You can just say Python and the file name ex1.py, enter. It works. Or else short name and py ex1. These two ways of running the Python code. Else you can just click this play button without any issue. No problem. Click. It works the same. See, it's done the same. It will create this Python interpreter and then it will work like that. So I prefer this method, execute and code. This is the first syntax. This is how you do that on Python, right? The second one is commenting. How to comment on, normally when you different programming languages, you will have different programming languages says like these sort of comments. You start this is a one comment and this is another one. So on Python, you comment like this. Just put a hash saying this is a comment. Also, you can just do it. This is a comment. So I don't recommend, because commenting I use, normally my practice is I use commenting for just the header saying the copyright of this file, or maybe who developed it, when it was developed else. I don't comment inside the code because this is your code, right? Your code, you don't have to comment because you have to understand it. If you are writing a library or a package, then commenting is good, documentation, because somebody else will be using your code and they won't see the source code, then it's better to comment, right? It's up to you, but my preference is I don't comment any code. If you want, you can just do the same method like this. Normally I comment like this. I'm going to say Fiqri Ismail. This code is free to use, like that, right? So that's it. Normally a header, simple header, I'll just save it as it is. So it's up to you. Now this is how it works. Print hello world, right? Even though it works for these numbers, print 1 plus 2, it's same thing. And then say Python, and it works like that, right? This is how you work with Python. If you're learning a new programming language, so, or a new one, I have some, so normally how do you learn? Because normally I have a knowledge of like few different programming language. I know Object Pascal, I know Visual Basic, I know C# and JavaScript and Python, and I know a little bit of Perl. So how do I learn these things? It's simple. Every programming language has these common things like called the first thing you can just come up with is, let me go back to my notepad. I'll just clear this one. The first thing you will notice is the syntax. Any programming language has its own syntax. You have to learn that. It's like if you know Sinhalese, and then if you know any other language, if you want to learn it, you learn grammar, right? So that's the same thing, the grammar of your code. The second thing is flow, the architecture of that language. Right? What is that architecture? Architecture means the application the life cycle of if you're like looking at an architecture, means if you're like looking at a language, when there's an object is created, what will happen to that object, how the garbage is collected, how the object is going to destroy, all those things you have to learn separately. Depending on the language, it says almost all the modern language are the same, automatic garbage collection, automatic, like how the syntax works, all those things are the same, but still you have to learn the architecture of that language. If you are learning a framework, again, you have to learn the architecture. Why is that? Framework has this life cycle management. Like if you create a component, what is the life cycle? What is the load method? How it works? And then how long will it stay in your memory and how it destroyed? Those kind of things, how you manage the state, how you manage the session. That kind of things comes inside the architecture. Next step is constants and variables. You have to learn this, how the constant works, how the variable works. That's one. The other one is like the controlling the flow of your program or application program. What is this? Right? Controlling of your flow. The first one is the conditions. These are called if, else, else if, like that. And the other one is loops, for each, while, like that. So these are the things you have to learn. Finally, the control structures, and then finally, the data structures. Data structures like dictionaries, arrays, sets, those are the things, right? Every programming language has these things. Look at these things. The logic is inside your head. Logic, you can think any language you want. Even if you are fluent on Sinhalese, you can just think on Sinhalese. If you are no Tamil, you can just think on whatever the native language, you can think it and you write according to these syntax, architectures, and these things, right? This is how you learn a new programming language. Even I learned like this because most of the things I learned from myself. So let me look at this again, syntax. That's why I want to start with the syntax, how the syntax is worked, how the Python is worked. The Python is like mostly a programming language. If you see, I don't have any semicolons here. See, if you just semicolon and just save it, automatically it will remove from my formatter. You don't have to worry about it, right? So Python doesn't have any semicolons. Python doesn't have any curly brackets like this for structuring code. I will show you how Python works. This is how you start. Next step is the variables. Variable is like a container, because you are programmers, you know what is a variable is. It's a container. So Python doesn't have tightly coupled things. Like for example, they have this stuff, but if you depending on this, you say x equals 5, this will treat it as an integer. You just save it and you just say ex1.py. See it 5. So if you want to just check this type, you can just say type x. Let me print that as well. Print. Save. And when you execute it, it says, see, it's the class of int. Python knows what to do. If you just say like this, double quotes, and do the same, now it says class of string. Now Python is a string. Again, you can just do the same here. X equals 10. Let's see what will happen here. Save it and clear ex. See now what happened. Same variable. Here it's treated as a string. Here it's treated as an int. So Python will convert it, typecast into whatever the thing you just used. So it's like this. So you don't have to, you can't say it's int or doing like this. So variable names, the next thing is like the variable names. There is a convention how to write variable names. It's normally on Python we used called snake casing. Snake casing means it's like this. You start with like this, for example, you can just say salary. Salary like this, right? Or maybe net salary. That is like this, some amount. So this is called snake casing. Whatever the separation, net salary. Normally, if you work with JavaScript, this will be a lowercase and this will be uppercase, right? So here we're going to use net salary underscore. Underscore will be the separation. It's like this, my long variable name 10, like that. See, you can use like that. It's the same thing. Even for functions, we use the same thing on Python. So this is called the snake casing. So if you define classes or something, that's a different story. Currently, the variable name should be look like this, because this convention is there. Reason the convention is there is like let me try this one. I think it shouldn't work. It will work. My long variable. We save it. Okay, so some formatters it will automatically pick up and put the underscore here, but it didn't work. So, but still make sure you use like this. The syntax should be like this for the variable naming. Underscore. This is convention. Everybody knows this convention on when you work with variables. This is how we do that, right? So there are two different variables. Like for example, let me share this, the global variables, right? Global, the scoping of these variables. So I'm going to show you how to work with the scoping of these variables like this. Imagine you have a code. Like imagine I have this number x equals 10 and y equals 20, right? I'm going to print x plus y, or maybe I'm going to say z equals x plus y, right? So print z. This is one way of doing it. So it works fine. y.ex1.py. See, it works 30. So you can just separate these things. These are called functions on Python. It's easy to understand, right? This is how you do that. There is a syntax. Python syntax is for these functions is called, you start with this keyword def and your function name and then the brackets and finally the colon. then whatever you just write, the code should be there. The pass keyword we used to like create a placeholder, right? So without this, it won't work. It will give a syntax error like this. So you just call it as this pass. This is how you create a function. The keyword and the function name, the brackets and the colon. And then whatever you write, it comes here. And then make sure the Python is a different kind of a beast. You don't have curly brackets to tell your scope in, like if you just look at a JavaScript function, you can just say function test. You like this, right? You have the scope here, the start bracket and the end bracket, but on Python, you don't have it. Only thing the Python will just work with this thing is this indent, this space. This indent will be there for you, right? So you can just write x equals 10, y equals 20, and return x plus y. So this will treat it as a function. See, it has this indentation. Automatically, you have this indenting. Now, how do you call this function? Let me rename this function. Add to numbers, or maybe add numbers. Right? This is how you call it. If you call this function up here, add numbers, right? Look what will happen. Let's save it and then just run it. See, now it says trace back, add numbers is not defined. See, it says name, add numbers is not defined because you're calling your function because this is a scripting language. It goes from top to bottom. When the print is here, it doesn't know where is add numbers is. If we just call this add number below the function, now it works. See, it says function. Now it says function. If you want to call the function, you can just say start and end brackets. So now it says 30, right? So this is how you do that in functions. This is one way of doing the functions. And let me check this. Let me show you this. This is, and the next step is you can just give arguments. You can just put this x and y here. You can just say x comma y, right? Now we change that. I can just say 10 and 20, or maybe we can just say like this. Result equals this. The same method, you just say result. Let me save it. See, now you have your function here. How do you write the function? You have your definition and then the name and the parameters and the colon. This is important, and mostly the indenting. So that's why we use formatting and all those formatters to use these things, like automatically indent this stuff, right? This is how you write a function, and then this is how you just get the result. Let's save it and execute again. We have the same result, right? Also, so parameters, or you can just say arguments. Sometimes there are like this. Imagine you might need some a default value. What will happen now? Now it says, see, the y, the parameter, because this can't be used on this way. So if we just say like this, now it should work. Now just say just one parameter, you save it and you run it. The answer is the same, right? Or if you want, result 2, add numbers 15 and 20, or maybe 30. So let's say here, you have the same thing to save the same. This is how you write functions. This is the way you create functions on, right? So again, if you look at this sort of scripting language, if you're familiar with using other programming stuff like C# or ASP.NET or any other thing, you have these editors. Like for example, you have Visual Studio. if you Visual Studio project, when you create, you have a nice folder structure, right? Here, when you work with Python, you might not get these folder structures. It's up to you to create this stuff. Normally, we'll create these functions. Then you have these lots of functions. Again, I'm going to create another functions called def sub numbers, right? X and Y. So let's say return X dash like this and a colon. You save it. You have this another one. So you can just say another function. There's another way of doing is like you can just separate these functions into modules, right? Different files. So normally when I create, so I am coming from like a .NET background. I used to create a similar pattern when you create Python programs. Like for example, you can just create models folder. You can create data folder, or you can just create services folders like that and separate this code. That's a very good practice to use, right? For example, if we just say, you have two different numbers, right? Normally I'm going to say, I have, let's say helpers, or just start with some helper.py. And I'm going to copy these two, cut and paste it here. Now you have two different things. When you save this one, you will get an error saying these are not identified. You can't just identify that, right? When you work with .NET or any other language, you can just use, say, using this model. Same here on Python, you can just say import helper and you save it. Let's try that again. See, still we get an error because it's not defined. It says you can't use this. So how do you get that? So we have to get this helper, and then you have to tell these method names. Like for example, I'm going to say from helper import and my add numbers and subtract numbers. Now it works. So when you save it, you just clear. So it works fine. So this is how you do that. So you have an helper. Now the code looks clean. This is the way you have to do this, right? So this is a way of doing functions. So let me just start with another file, example2, showing another way of writing these functions, right? Def, let me say family, and have, say, kids, this sort of function, right? So I'm going to say, let's say print the second born is, now look at this one. You can just say kids. It looks like an array or a list. You can just say second born is the first one, right? So if you don't know the parameter, number of parameters you have to get from this function, you can just put this asterisk in front of it like this. Now it will treat it as a list. I'm going to show you what are the lists are. And then if you just say print, let's say family, and say, let's say A, B, C, it doesn't matter, right? Any number of kids, just save it and then just say example2.py. See, the second born is B, the second one. So the parameters are infinite. You can just write down any parameters you want. You can just pick it up. If you know, okay, these are the parameters, you can just do as well. This is another way of creating parameters. Now we know how to create different parameters like this and then like this, right? That's one way of doing it. So we know how to create functions. This is kind of a blocking your code. So creating code blocks, right? So another one on these functions are, it's a separate thing. So have you heard about, I think you have heard about, or you're currently working with, if you work with Entity Framework or any other Fluent API data, like a ORM, you will see these expressions called Lambda expressions, right? Or factorial expressions like this. On Python, you have Lambda as well. But only thing you can just, if you look at a function here, you can just write code print A, lots of lines, right? Be like that. When you save it, still it will look like this, right? Print A, B, C like that. But on Lambda on Python, you can just give only one line of expression, right? So let me show you ex3.python. This is how you create a Lambda. You can just say result equals, you have to write this Lambda keyword and A. This will be the parameter. Whatever the parameters you just write, or maybe two parameters, A and B, doesn't matter, one parameter and colon, and then the line of that expression. This is how you do that, right? One line of code. Then when you call this function, you can just say print the function name. Let's say add numbers. The function name, you can just say print add numbers. See, it's treated as a function and it will have one parameter 10. But look at what will happen. This is how you this is your function name, and this is how you create the Lambda. One line of expression. Any parameters, just one line. You can just go lots of lines here, right? And the best thing is when you save this one, the formatter will take it over and it will convert into a function. See, def add numbers A, return A. If you don't have a format, it will just stay as the Lambda, but it's the same thing. It's like defining a function with one parameter and returning it in one line. It looks like the same. See, it's the same. The answer will be the same. This is one way of doing it, like writing functions, different methods. Right? If you want to just one liner, you can just use a Lambda, but still your formatter will convert into a def. Right? That's functions. Now we talked about we have talked about because constants and variables, and now the control flow of a program, right? Control flow of a program means the flow of the program. Look at this one. Let's say like this, you have marks, say 50, and print A, or print B, print C. This is a normal flow of your program, right? Now, when you just say Python ex3.py, you will see the ABC. So what happened? The flow of this program is like this. This is how it works from top to bottom. If you want to change the control of this program, like for example, okay, check whatever this else, you just print A, don't print anything else, right? These are called control structures. The one way of controlling your structure is the conditions. This is how you work with the syntax of Python, right? You start like this. If marks greater than 50, and then again colon, then print A, right? And again print all done. See, this is, now look what will happen. See, this is called the scoping of a Python. So this is the biggest mistake we're going to make, right? On Python language, because its indenting is defining the what you call this scope or the block of this code. It will treat these two as under if. But I want like this. I want this print should be without if. It should be just anyway, it should be printing. So let me say like this, print checking marks and save. Look what will happen. Let me just clear and ex3.py. See, just checking marks, all done is not there because of this indented. It's under here. The scope will be under if. That's why it looks like this. So make sure if you don't see anything in the code, just definitely check with the indenting. It should be on the same indenting level of this. Now when you save it, look what will happen. The Visual Studio Code will know to understand. See this block with these small gray lines. It will understand this is on the if block, right? When you save it, save, then you execute. Just say all done. See, it's not greater than 50, it's just 50. Let's say 60, save. So now you have A. This is how it works on. These are called, any programming language, these expressions are called Boolean expression, right? For example, I can just show it to you. Let's say checking marks result equals marks greater than 50, right? Just save it. I can just say print type of marks result and save as clear this code and run. See, it says Boolean. See, that's why I'm calling it, it's a Boolean expression, right? So normal Boolean expression, equal, greater than, or equal, all those things will be working, right? So nothing to worry about, all are called this Boolean expression. The special thing is like the indentation. The indentation is very important of Python language. Make sure you install a formatter or make sure you install an extension. Otherwise, you will be just really in trouble because it doesn't have any curly brackets or any sort of, or maybe on if you use Visual Basic, there is no sub and sub like that, right? So those are very important. And the second one is like, else what should happen, right? Else will be the same thing on any programming language. You can just say else. Just say print, it's the same. You have to write the colon, print F or something like that, maybe S, same. It's the same thing. Again, the colon is important. And then the indentation, like this, see? The indentation is very important here. So let me clear again. We'll see it's the same. Again, if you want just more another check for another one, let's say the marks greater than 30. Or you can just say another one. There's another called L if greater than 45. And print B. Or let's say S, B, and this one is A. See, the indentation again is very important. Here, here, and here, the block will be the same one block, right? So make sure the colons and the colons, everything, anything you want to block something or a function or if else if, it will be just the same thing. You can just say block it there, right? This is how you write if the conditions. The next one is the loop, right? For example, it's just loop. Like there's another one called the short if, right? Like we did, it will be run just one line. For example, let's say this is how you do it. If let's say if my let's say marks greater than 90, just say one line, print, say excellent. This one line of thing, but still it will just format. I will know it goes to the next line, right? So it depends on your how you write code. So this is how it works. The end, the else, the if, and everything. This is the condition. The second, the next one is the loops, right? If you look at the loops, you have two different loops on Python. Let's say expire, yeah. Close, yeah. You have two different things. The first one is the while loop. While loop is like it's like again with a condition. You can just say, let me say, like the simple answer will be just, let me just say I equals 1, right? While, and then again you have to just start with the condition less than 6 and print I, and you can just iterate the I like this. equals 1. See, this is how the while loop. Till this get true, right? While loop. So let's say 1. Yes, it is true. This condition is true. This will work until it gets false and it will get out of the loop, right? So you know these while loops, but the syntax is different. Again, look at this, the colon and the indenting, right? If you just say indenting comes here, then there will be a problem. Why? It will go never ending loop because there is no iterating here. So make sure the indenting is very important. Just press here, save, let's run it. ex4.5. This is how the loops works, right? Even a database statement. And if you want, right, there's another one. If you want to break the loop in the middle of the anywhere, right, you can just say, let's say break if I equals 3. Now look at the indentation here. This will be the indentation for I if, and this will be for the while. See, and a small indentation here, and the indentation here. It will treat it as this one. See, the print I and the I+1 will be treated here, and then the check will be here, right? So the indentation is very important. Again, make sure you just create a user formatter. And let's say ex4, 5. See, now it stopped at 3. So this is how you use the break. And there's another one called the continue statement. This is break, you can just continue. The other one is like, even though you can just stop the current iteration. Let me show you. You will understand that one. Let me show you with the while loop print. Yes. Let's say I'll change this one into like this. While I less than 6, and let's say I plus 1, or you can just say I plus plus. If I equals 3, then continue. Look what will happen. Two different things, right? And print I. Let's say, let's keep both of them. Let's say print continue. Save, right? Let's clear it. ex4.python. Look what will happen. Now the first one stopped at 3. 1, 2, 3. The second one, what will happen? Right? If it is 3, that means it's always when it is false. Like continue means like, okay, for example, it start with 1, I. Now I is 1. Yes, now I is 2, right? 2. And if I is 2, it's false. Doesn't go inside, it will print, right? But if it is to come to 3, and then after that it will continue, means it's escape that loop, right? If we just let's try that again. The same loop, changing the print I, and I equals +1. Look what will happen. Now what happens? It goes to a never ending loop because, see, so always it will escape 3, 3, 3. It never goes because it comes here and then it never adds here. So it comes, okay, print until 3, it comes the 3 and then continues, it never goes to this. That's why you put the plus here. It should continue. When it continues, it should go up here. That's why it worked and exit. Make sure when you use continue to escape the loop while you're using a while statement, right? So again, you can just use the else statement as well inside a while statement. Why is that? If you look at this statement, let me delete, maybe let me remark all those things. And yeah, I equals 1, while I equals 6, it's the same thing, and print I, yes, and I plus 1. This loop we know. Let's try that. It's clear. And Python, or maybe Py, ex4.py. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no problem. Look what will happen if you put an else in the loop. Let's print I is no longer less than 6, or maybe 7, like 6. Right? Look what will happen. See, happen means it's like an if statement now. If it is true, do this, else false. Because if you want something after the loop, the final thing, if you want just after 6, one time to check this thing, you can just put an else here. Like here, it will go until 5. And after when it's 6, that means 6 is less than 6. That is not true, it false. And then it goes to the else and it prints here. Right? This is like an if statement with a loop. Right? If you want to do like these things, just make sure there's an like a else statement inside the while loop, right? This is the another control structure you can use to change the flow of your program. The other one is the for loop. That's a bit different story. You have this for loop. Before for loops, I will show you another data structure, because you want to understand it, a data structure called list, right? In Python, this is a very important one. Using these data structures, mostly we use these data structures. Let's say ex5, right? This is called a data structure. Let's say planets, and start with Mercury and Venus and Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, and let's say it like this, right? These are the planets. So this is how you create a list. These are called Python lists. Sorry, Python list. These are called list. It's like any other programming language. You can just call it as a like a one-dimensional array as well, right? These are called list. You have this curly bracket, these square brackets to define a list, right? This is how you define a list, and then you can just access this list. The list is the most important part of this list is there are, it is called, these lists are changeable. These are the things you have to know about these control structures. The first one is, you can just say ordered, right? Ordered means this list are just it has, when you create this, it has a defined order. 1, 2, 3 like that. That's why it's called ordered, right? The second one is like next time when you access this list, it will be the same thing. You just say print planets. There are unordered list things, structures as well. Planets, again, if you just say print planets, it will be the same. This is called unordered. That's why it's called ordered. Every time you access it, it will be the same order. See, it's the same order every time you access it. That's one way of thinking it as ordered. The other one is changeable. For some programming language, we can just mutable. Changeable. Changeable means anything, any element of this list can be changed. Values can be changed, right? This is ordered and then changeable. And also, it will allow duplicates. So when you use, make sure when you're using a list or any other collection, you have to just think about what sort of things. Are you going to use a list here, or I'm going to use maybe a tuple here? I'm going to show you what is a tuple, or maybe I'm going to use a dictionary here. But you have to know what are the differences between these three. Because if you want an ordered or changeable, and it will allow duplicates. So allow duplicates means you can just write another earth here if you want. It won't complain. Like let's say print planets. It will never complain. See, sorry, it has earth there. So this is how you just access it. That's why it says ordered, changeable, plus allow duplicates. Let's say how to access these things. Because this is ordered, every element has an index starting with 0. Every element has an index with starting with 0. You can just say print, get me the first planet of the solar system is planets, and just say 0. Because it's 0 indexing, every list has a 0 indexing, you can just say clear. See, you get Mercury. See, don't have to put space. See, you have Mercury here, right? This is how you access. Again, if you want to access the print, the third or maybe the last planet of the solar system, is you have two methods of accessing these things. Planets, if you know the number of elements, you can just say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can just say 7, you can access it. Else, you can just say -1. This is another way of accessing. -1 will start from this amount, right? You can just say, let's try it again, clear. See, you got Neptune, right? And you can add planets. If you want to add a planet into the end, this is, you can just use a helper method saying planets.append. If you look at this append method, see, append object to the end of the list, right? Again, make sure when you use this list, append method will look what will happen to you, the array or the list. You can just say Pluto. I'll save it. Oops. And then print planets. See, now you have Pluto here, right? You have Pluto here at the end. So it will at the end, but again, you have to understand is it has changed the array or the list. This is called mutable. That means your array or your list got changed at the end. It doesn't create a copy of that list, or it doesn't do anything. It will add to the, it will change the original array, right? If you want, okay, so if you don't want to change this array, you can just say planets.copy, right? It will just return another list, return a shallow list of the copy, and then you can just say like this, another planets 2 dot copy. You get the copy, right? Now you can just say planets 2 dot append Pluto. Just now, if you print these two, print planet and print planets, save it, clear. See, two different things. You have the original one and you have the copy with the Pluto, right? Make sure, remember that one when you work with list, right? any collection can be added or copied like this. You'll get a copy. So normally, if you want to do some, we mostly use this when you use data science, you just get a copy of this list and then do something and then match it, and then finally you replace it. You never change the original one to get the values. Make sure that's why you have this shallow copy of this this array, right? So now we have use with this, and then again you can just say a print number of planets in the solar system. Just say length planets. These are simple things. You can remember these things, right? Say you will say 8, right? If you add a append, or you can just do the same. You can just say planets. Now, if you just say planets dot append, at the end you will add Pluto. Save. So before appending, you have it. See, now you have 9. Why? I didn't save it, right? Save. See, 8 and 9. This is how it works. Again, you can just do the same on planets. Dot remove. Remove value. You have to give a value here, not the index. Make sure it's a value of string, right? So let's say remove Pluto. And when you count the one, clear. See 8, 8 again. 8. You have removed that one. So this is how you manipulate a list. This is you have to remember. Mainly you have to remember this part. Ordered, changeable, and allow duplicates, right? This is how it works with duplicate arrays. Now let me go back to my other example. We work these loops and then we'll come back with example 4a dot Python, right? Loops, how it works. The for loop. Let me get back my planets here, right? And for a, let's paste it here. This is how it works. The for loop. Clear. Let's save it. Right. Look at the for loop, how it works. For, right? You start with for. This is how it's syntax. The syntax is a variable. You have to give a variable here. A variable name, and there's a keyword called in, and then the collection, then the colon, then your expressions. This is the syntax. So let me check with the syntax again. For now a planet in planets, then colon, enter. Then you can just say print planet. Save. This is how for loop works. This is for whatever it is in planets, right? Let me clear it and say Python ex4a.python. See, now you have the list like this. This is how the for loop works, right? This is one way of doing it. Again, you can just do the same thing for a string. Look at this one, right? For letter in this word, print letter. See, clear. This word. Now you have each letter. Even a string is a character list. That's how it works like this, right? Again, you can use the break statement and the continue statement for the same thing. So it's the same thing like the while loop, right? So again, also there's another keyword called a range. You can just say for number in range. See the range syntax. stop. How many inches? Let's say 10 and print number. It's up to you how to use that. So let's say clear Python ex4a.py. Now the same 0 to 9, it will create a range of 10 from 0 to 9. Again, you can just say, oh, if you want a range of like this to 6 and save, it's the same, right? You can just go through the help, or you can just go through these things, can understand. This is how it works in Python. Right now, I just mentioned about a folder structure, or how these things works and how to like structure a Python program. Now we have learned like these things. We have learned these things, and then we know one data structure called list. I'm going to talk two more data structures on like the tuple and the dictionary, right? How it works, and the sets. Three different things, three more things. Let's talk about those things as well, the data structures. Right, I'll close these things. And let's say ex6.py. Now this is the different with the tuple. This is how it works. ex5 is already there, 6, right? A tuple. This is how I am not sure how to pronounce this. Normally I use it tuple or tuple. I don't know. I think it's tuple, right? A tuple is like this. It's kind of an object, but it has a list items, right? Only different is this, like you can't. A tuple is ordered. The order never change. Like it has an index, and this, the main thing is like you have to remember is it's unchangeable. You can't change anything inside a tuple, right? It is ordered but unchangeable. Again, because the tuple are indexed, this is index means because it is ordered, you can duplicate elements inside a tuple, right? Let me say like this. I'm going to say fruits, a tuple. A tuple will start with a round bracket, not a square bracket, right? Okay, say apple, banana, and cherry. This is a tuple. Ordered, unchangeable, duplicate. Ordered means you can access this one like a print fruits 0. It has an index. This is how you know. Python ex6.py. See, apple is there. And unchangeable means you can't do like this. Like this. See 0, 1, 2. I'm going to say fruits to make it into a like pineapple. And clear. Now it gives an error. See, that means traceback. Tuple object does not support item assignment. That means you can't change anything. So tuples are very good for what? Imagine you're picking up some a database, a list of data, because the list of data on the database is one thing. If you want to display something, you don't want to change anything. The front end should not change anything, and then you can just use a tuple here, right? So, but you can just use tuple like this. And vegetables, say like this. Cabbage, carrot, like that. And basket can be fruits and vegetables. See, now you have two different things. When you print your basket, see, you have two different things. Now these things can be, if you want to change this, because this is inside the list, you can replace fruits with some other tuple as well. You can replace vegetables with another one, but still you can't directly change these things. If you want to access And I'm going to say, because fruits will be the 0 and 0, what will happen? 0 and 1. Save. Can access the banana because this will be my fruit. And the second one, okay, you can just say fruit tuple will be basket 0, like that, right? And the second one, fruit. So it's the same thing. So you can just mix these things between stuff, right? So this is fruits, and remember it is ordered. Yes, that's why you can just access within the index, but still you can't change it. But still you can just add duplicates because it indexed. Nothing to worry about. You can just add another banana here. It will work fine. No issues, no errors, right? This is how it works. So accessing and updating. So if you want to update a tuple, what you're going to do? Imagine you don't like cherry. Right? If you want to replace this cherry with another one, how do you do that? So this is how you do that. First, you have to convert it into a list. Then you can just change this. This is how you convert. Let's say fruits list. You can convert using list method and fruits. After converting this one, let's say print fruits. Just save it, clear. Now it will act as a, not fruit, it should be fruits list. Now again, fruits list. It shouldn't be a tuple. Yeah, right. Now let's change it. Now you can just say fruit list. Change the second one into a kiwi or something like that, or maybe a pineapple. Finally, fruit should be, again, you can just convert a tuple, fruit list. And I think this is, if you print now, fruits here, and if you print fruits here, let's clear this one. Now the cherry is changed into pineapple. This is how you change. You convert into a list. These are the simple steps. You have your tuple here. That's okay. And then you convert it into a list and then change the value. Again, convert into a tuple, then finally get the value. This is how you do that, right? This is how you convert or change anything. If you can just loop the tuples, same thing. Because this is a collection, you can just do the same. You can just use for fruit in fruits. Print colon print fruit. It will be the same. Nothing to worry about. You can use the for loop to print your stuff. See, apple, banana, and it's printed, right? You have it here. That's how you use that. So there are lots of tuple methods. You have like 2 different methods. Like for example, if you just type it here, fruits, this is a tuple dot, you have count, and then you have, I think, index. 2 different things, 2 methods to work with tuple. These are the tuples, right? The other one is a dictionary. It's a different story. So you mentioned we used list like this using a colon, order changeable allows duplicates. And this one, a tuple, yes, ordered but unchangeable, but still you can add duplicates. The next one is the dictionary, another data structure. Let's say EX7. These are called dictionaries. Dictionaries. This is how you define a dictionary. So always in any dictionary has 2 values, like a key and a value, right? This is how it happens. key value pairs. Any dictionary is like that. Any programming language, dictionary is a key value pair thing. So for example, I can just say a dictionary of student. This is how you start with the curly brackets, right? You can just say name and the value, comma, and let's say country, and city, and the status, and say active. So this is a dictionary. This is how a dictionary works. So it has a key value pair, and again it should be inside a curly bracket. So a tuple, as the listing will be like a normal square bracket, and tuple will be inside a rounded bracket, but here the dictionary should be in the curly bracket. So if you just print it out, print the student, just save it. Python ex7.py. Now you will see like this, right? You have something like this, but dictionaries, ordered or unordered, right? You can just change, right? Dictionaries are not ordered because it doesn't have an index, right? Every time you access, it might be, let me try that. I think it's unordered. There are different versions of Python, is ordered or unordered. Let's say clear, but it displayed again, but because it doesn't have an index, right? It doesn't have any index. Again, it's changeable. You can just change these values. That means unordered of this version of Python, ordered, changeable, but doesn't allow duplicates. Does not allow duplicates. Why? Because it's a key value pair. Every key or key should be unique. That's why it doesn't allow a duplicate. For example, you can't just write another status here. Say active, and you save it. Did I save it? Oh, clear. Status, yes, shouldn't be allowing it. I think it should not allow. I don't know why it's allowing status. No, it should not, because it should access with the key value pair, right? So that's on dictionaries. To access a dictionary item, like we did with the indexing, we can access this thing like this: print student with the key. See, it shows the keys and name, and save. And when you just save Python ex1 ex7 Python, see, it can be accessed. Again, you can just change the name. Same thing, you can just put the student name. Also, you can just use a for loop. Look at this one now, right? Let's say key in student, like print key. Look what will happen. See, the key is there. Again, if you want to get the value, just say value. It doesn't matter, right? So this name doesn't matter actually. To explain, I just create value. And I think it should be like this. key, or maybe. Oh, I can't remember. Say like this. If you want to get the keys, you can just say keys equals student dot keys. It will get all the keys here. Python ex 7. See, all the keys are there, and then you can use a loop to access these values. So these are the things, the control structures, the dictionary you have, you can just search, or like W3 schools or anywhere, you can just get these things outputted, right? So the help is there. So now I'm going to show you different parts of this. Now you have a basic idea of what is Python and what are the control structures, what are how to write code and how to separate and how to import modules, those kind of things. Now I'm going to move back again to like, remember I just talked about that you can just create, rather than scripting like this, you can just create web applications as well. You have two different things, two different elements. You can just go with Python. I'm going to close this one and I'm going to go back to my command prompt, and then I have these things. Let me go to a folder, let's say mkdir, and create a folder called my site. I'm going inside, right? Now, this is very important. When you create something, this is called a Python project, right? Python project might not need, like getting, like if you are familiar with .NET or any other platform, you are familiar with like importing stuff, like for example, NuGet packages, or maybe if you are using Node.js, you have these NPM packages, right? Python has a similar kind of packages called, we are going to use it, a command line tool called pip, Python packages, and it should be installed with the Python automatically when you install it. So current version is this one, this 2022. This is a part of this Python. Normally when you install Python, you get this package, right? This is one. I'm gonna, again, when you install these NuGet packages, if you are on Visual Studio or anything, you will understand these packages are not globally installed. It will be inside whatever your software solution. If you are using a Node.js, it will be inside that Node package. There will be a package.json and there will be Node modules. If you are using .NET, there will be a Visual Studio solution. Inside that, you have this NuGet. Again, Python also, you can create an environment. It's called a virtual environment. You can create like this. It should be Python, right? And -m. -m means run a script, a Python script. There is a Python script called VEN, virtual environment. This is how you start. This is how you start Python -m and then VENV. This is called virtual environment. And here, whatever your virtual environment name, it doesn't matter. Normally we create the same name called VENV, or we can just say my site ENV, like that. When you press enter, it will create the environment for you. Then your command prompt will change according to it, right? Now you have, if you see, you will have a directory. Let me open Visual Studio Code here. Inside that directory, you will see some scripts inside that directory. See, normally you don't worry about, because all the libraries will install, packages will be installed inside this library. It won't install globally. It will available only for you, only for this part, right? And the scripts, this script will allow you to activate the environment. How do you activate it? This is how you do that. Just go open the terminal, new terminal. Now you are inside your site. You will see this my site environment. If you're on Visual Studio, sorry, if you're on Windows, you don't have to worry about. You can just say my site tab and then script tab and then activate. That's it. And press enter. Now you have an environment of your site. See, it says my site environment. right? To create the website or a web API or whatever it is, I'm going to use a package called Flask, right? To install that, you can just say pip install Flask and press enter. This is how you install it. See, this is the package manager of Python, and you can just say install and Flask, right? This is web app. I'm going to press enter. Now it will install everything you need, and now it is installed. Unless if you go inside the lib folder, you will see Flask is installed here. See, here and here you have this Flask version. Now let's see how to write a program here. Let's go back, close. I'm going to start with this. Let's say a name of this one. Let's say hello dot, or maybe index, or whatever it is. Name doesn't matter. Hello dot Python. Right now you have to import this library, the package. This is how you start from Flask. This is all the classes. Import the class Flask and import from the library this class, right? Now this is the first line. You save it, no worries. Now look at this. Now it will automatically, because we created an environment, this is not global, this is a local environment. It will ask what sort of formatter I have to use. The autopep is the like a recommended one, or else you can use the other ones like black or YAPF, right? So I'm going to say autopaper, that's okay. Yes, it will install inside this environment. Now clear. Now it says, okay, now when you save it, the formatting will be done using autopep, right? Now we have Flask. Next step, app equal Flask. And this one, this is a global argument which will be picked up from the environment variable called the app name. Whatever the app name we give, it will pick up. This is because when you create the, this is a class, and this is the construction will be the name of your app, right? That's like a thing you have to write. We save it. Next step will be, okay, now any application, any web application or web API has a root, like the main root where to access is how to access. For example, you can just say localhost/index, localhost/my page, localhost/root, like that. This is how you just give in Flask. You give the root app.root. This is the main root without typing the domain. This will be the main root. If you type it, now we're going to define a function. This is the one we learned. Hello world. Right? Next step will be HTML code. H1, welcome to Flask. Right? Let me create another one, H1, another root. Let's say app.root. Say privacy. And def, hello. Let's say privacy. Colon. H1. Read page. Sure. Then save. Now you have two different routes, /privacy and the root. So this, now you have written a simple application with a route. Anything, you can just write any code here, maybe database picking up code, or maybe you can just create modules. All this stuff will be, this is using Flask, right? You can just create these things. Now we have Flask, and then Flask name. Name will be picking up from your environment. Next step, you have to export, right? You have to tell the name of your application. Now it should be this hello, right? It will pick up from here. Then it will create the Flask, this class, and then it will work according to this. This is how your environment. If you are on PowerShell, you have to use this command $env and Flask app. This is the first step. Flask, only one time you have to do this Flask app for this environment. Flask app equals the file name. I'm going to say hello. This will be picked up as in the name and press enter. Now you have an environment. Inside your environment, you have this hello. Next step is Flask, because Flask is installed under my environment. See, you have installed. It's a command line Flask, and simply you can just say run and press enter. Now, this is a development side, don't use the production deployment. That's okay. Now you have the hello is lazy loading is run. Environment is use production, whatever it is. And then this is the URL, HTTP 5000, right? Let's copy it and then open a browser here and paste it, enter. See, welcome to Flask. Now you have a web application, web API running under Flask. If you want to access the privacy page, you can just click here saying /privacy. Now you're in the privacy page. This is the basic of web application. You can just evolve it. This is one way of doing it. You can use Flask. The other one is like more like what you call more structured thing. It is called Django, right? You can just search for Flask tutorial. You can just work with Flask if you want. Like this is Flask, how to use. You create routes and write code. These are all functions. Like imagine on ASP.NET Web API, this will be the controller, and this will be the action methods. With their route also, you can just say options or the method, how it should be displayed. Methods, see, methods equal, I'm going to say post method. Then only post will be accessed. So you can just read the documentation. You can just follow along with that one. This is how you work with Flask. Another one, I'm going to close this one and I'm going to go back, right? So my site, let's say clear. I'm going to create another one called, let's say DJ site, say Django site, cd Django site. Same thing. Just create Python -m and VNV, that for virtual environment. I'm going to say DJ my site. It will create the virtual environment to code with. Now, let's go back here. Code dot. Now again, you have this here, terminal, new terminal, clear. Again, same thing, env, my site, scripts, activate, clear. Now you have activated this one. Now you have to install, again, the same thing. You just say pip install Django, right? And press enter. Now you will get installed, the Django will be installed inside this environment. So Django is another one, another environment. So another website building tool. It is more organized. So if you want to check the Django version, you can just say Python. Again, Django script version. This is the current version. If this works, means the Django is automatically successfully installed in this environment, right? Now I'm going to create a Django site. So remember, now we have created this site. Flask was like raw Node.js, but Django is like Node.js with Express, right? So you have to create a Django starting site saying Django admin, another tool installed with Django, start project, and let's say my site, and press enter. Now this will create a site. See, now you have this site. You have to go inside this site. This is cd my site. You have this site here. Now you will see this manage.py, right? So this is the one you have to access. Now if you look at this, it is more organized. You have these files different to the initial file, and the URLs, the settings, everything is like more organized. This is how you execute. Right. Right. So this is how you execute. Let me show you. As simple as this. Now you can just say Python and manage.py, like we executed our normal Python code. And then you can just say run server and press enter. Right. Now it has run. See, it has automatically installed a database as well, DB SQLite 3, right? Now it says this URL should be accessed. Let's go back. If you see the screen after executing, I'm going to press space. If you see this one, that means Django is excellent running. If you click this tutorial, you can just go there and just start with a new nice tutorial. That means it is more organized than the other one, Flask. I recommend us use with Django. It's more organized and it has automatic database. It has an admin. You can just create a poll or a data and admin application within few minutes or few hours without any worrying, right? So now you know two different things. Now we have looked at how to build web applications, a small web application, scripting, and plus the next one, the last one I want to show is, so I might not have time to show the MySQL, but still the last one, I'm going to close this. I'm going to going back to my Ubuntu one, right here. In Ubuntu, KDIR, I'm going to create a app called like app, CD app. This is under Ubuntu, right? So under Ubuntu, I'm going back to, let me, think, yeah. So first you have to install, this is called like, there's a library called tkinter, right? This is a library, GTK library, which is a graphic toolkit. tkinter is for the Python, this library. We're going to use that Python. You have to install this one. It's called sudo apt install under and Python 3.tk. This is the one you have to install, right? You have to install this one. After installing it, it's simple. Let me just go back to my code. I'm going to open my code. Say code dot. So this will be only possible on WSL2 on Windows 11 or WSL2 Windows 10 because now WSL2 supports graphical. If you look at the, now I'm running inside Ubuntu. See, it says WSL Ubuntu. I'm going to create a new file called, let's say, app.python. You start with like this. You start saying like this. Import tkinter, yes, tkinter from as tk. You can just give a name. That's for easy. Or you can just directly say tkinter and use tkinter dot like that. Simple code like will be window. This is a window. I'm going to open a window saying, okay, tk dot. This is a class. Simple as that. Finally, I'm going to say window dot. There should be a loop command. Can't remember that name. The name should be loop, I guess. One second, I just can't remember that one. Yeah, should be a main loop. Yeah, main loop, right? Main loop. And look what will happen. Now I'm running inside Ubuntu. Yes, make sure autopep is used. Right. So look at this one. I'm using the main, this one, and inside Ubuntu, right? So if we just go to terminal and new terminal, see, this is under Ubuntu. You want to say Python app.py and execute it. Look what will happen. Sorry, Python, it should be under Python 3 app.py. When you enter it, it will take a minute. And there it is, because it's processing. Yeah, see, this is the window. Now we have a window running inside WSL2 under GUI, Linux GUI, using Python under Windows. So this is possible only under WSL2 with new Windows update, right? Windows 11. I'm using Windows 11. Now it's running inside this one. Now, if you want, you can just do like this. Let's say if you want to add a label here, it's simple as that. Let me check. Let's say like this. Let's say message. So tk.label, yeah, and text should be hello GUI from WSL2. And finally, you can just say message.pack. So let's save it and let's execute it again. Now you have your application, see, with the GUI, right? So simple GUI, you can just using TK into any other GUI application. This is pure Linux, right? Running on Ubuntu. You see the mouse pointer is different, all these things are different. It's not like this notepad or something like this. It doesn't look like this, see, it's different. Totally different. See, totally different window. So it should be a green arrow under Windows. This is on Ubuntu. Ubuntu using Python for GUI, right? So we see, I think we have seen different items on Ubuntu, as well as, I'm going to stop sharing. We have seen different items like GUI applications, script applications, and we learned about Python, and we built 2 different web applications using Django or Flask. It's up to you what you're going to use. So lots of things you can just do with Python. I hope you got something. If you have any questions, any remarks, or you can just ask me straight away. Gina, over to you.
Thanks, Fiqri. Anyone having questions? I have one question, Fiqri, that environment, what is that environment is needed first before installing that web application, or it's purely optional thing like
it will be like this. The environment will be, it's a good practice to create an environment. So if you are using like a JetBrains editor, like a PyCharm, when you create a project, it automatically create the environments for you. Because imagine the one application you might be running on Python 3.9, right? All the libraries will be on that library, that depending on dependencies. Again, you are starting another project on Python 3.10, it will be that environment. That's why we're creating environments. So it's like Visual Studio solutions with NuGet packages with different versions. Yeah. It's good practice to create an environment, else it will be globally installed. If you install Django, it will be globally available to any Python program, any Python project you worked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I think it was clear from the beginning, all the syntax, and you will be able to share that code, right? So we can email.
Yeah, I will share every code. Yeah.
Thanks.
I will give you a zip file and then you can just use that code. Also, you can just go to W3 schools. All the examples are from there. It has step-by-step examples. W3 schools, click on Python. You will get everything there. Sure. Or you can just go to Microsoft Learn and search for Python. There are lots of self-learning stuff there as well. Lots of courses on Python, step-by-step, explaining things is there on Microsoft Learn as well. Also, you can just subscribe my YouTube channel. I'll be creating these videos again for different, like a separate video for list, separate video for tuple, separate for dictionaries and all this GUI programming. So make sure you subscribe and then you will get new videos. But only thing, it will be on Sinhalese language. I hope most of them can understand it, right?
Sure, I think we can share the links also in our group, WhatsApp group, within the members also.
Do you have the link, or if you can share the link on the group chat, then we can share in our group?
Yeah, I will send it to Jinat. So you can.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we don't have any other questions. Then we can wind up.
Yeah, we are good to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Fiqri, on behalf of Sri Lankan IT Professional Association in UAE, and we really appreciate your time and effort. And it's indeed like an eye-opening session for us, like people, those who don't know about the Python, just to learn ABCs. So this is where we start from any platform, any software programming language. So I mean, there's a demand, big demand in the, I mean, these days, and not even these days, is quite a long time, right? Still still it's same.
Yes.
So I think it's learning of this kind of language, it's a plus. Thanks for all your effort, Fiqri. Thank you so much again. It's a wonderful session.
Yeah, it's happy to help. Thanks for giving me the chance. And so maybe another session, like just on Django or something like that, we can just arrange.
Yeah, maybe we can plan something. We will check with our members' preference also. Maybe some advanced topic, or if they want to know some kind of another session.
Or maybe on Django, like accessing data and writing data. Yeah.
We'll do that. Thank you, everyone, for those who participate. Good night.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.